So, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. My name is Alex, and I'm Chief Strategy Officer of B2 Broker Group. Today, I will cover, well, such a vital topic in the life of modern brokerage business: regulation and licensing. I will start with the same slide as my colleague. Ivan, I will tell you a little bit more about ourselves. So basically, B2 Broker Group has been serving for the financial market players for almost 10 years by now. I can proudly tell that, was able to build a full-scale ecosystem which provides any service modern financial market player needs. So we have, let's say, 4 main lines of businesses. The first is liquidity business. Here I'm referring to the multi-asset liquidity distributed onto the prime of prime model on several asset classes, including metals, currencies, energy, and of course, crypto. The second main project, B2B and Pay. Basically, there are 2 solutions that we provide. First one is merchant solution, crypto processing, which will allow any business to accept crypto payments from their clients, which will allow them to expand their client base. Second solution, enterprise. This is a wallet management system for institutional market players. You can easily manage all your finance using this. Acquire. Here we have a strong and interesting digital banking project with issuing virtual IBANs. Acquire is licensed in the United Kingdom, and it promotes any fiat payments to our customers. B2 Broker Venture Fund. Well, it's our new project, and we are ready to invest in any business which is close to our heart and align with our ecosystem. Digital exchange for professional clients, and, well, last but not least, technical side. We provide white label solution of most popular trading platforms, along as our in-house developed products such as B2 Core, mobile application, B2 Trader, Marksman Liquidity Hub, and B2 Copy. Now, as a boring PhD guy, I'll start with a little history lesson and tell you about our experience. So as you can see here, we have 7 licenses now. So I will try to give you some advices, and we'll start with telling how everything started. What is to blame in strengthening of financial regulation? The world financial crisis, which took place in 2008. A year after, in 2009, the most powerful world leaders in Pittsburgh promulgated a declaration. It's called Pittsburgh Declaration, and they basically stated several points. First, that all modern economies need to align in order to prevent systemic risks. For that, we need a new regulatory framework for financial market. It started with banks, but now it covers all financial activities. Then, secondly, they established Financial Stability Board, which is basically a regulator of regulators. It's somehow, let's say, an association where all major regulators take part in. Then, what happens next? 2 big scandals, I think everybody aware of that. It's 2 scandals which are connected with Panama, with money laundering and tax evasion. The first took place in 2016, and the second one in 2021, called Pandora Archives. All that led to, from the one hand, onto strengthening the AML legislation, and on the other, like prevention of financial risks and all that licensing challenges we face now. Now, I will tell you a bit about the layers of modern legislation and regulation of the financial market. The first layer is international standards. There are several international standard-setting bodies, such as Financial Action Task Force for AML, IOSCA, International Organization of Securities Commissions, This is for Brokerage, International Association of Insurance Supervisors for insurance market, and of course Basel Banking Committee for banks. Each international standard setting body comprises of employees of regulators. So, for example, IOSCO has 170 countries membership and around 25 committees. Each committee is dedicated onto one specific topic, for example, corporate governance, anti-money laundering, financial risks, or something else. As I told, it's around 20. They promulgate like standards that in future are implemented into local legislation. All countries basically, they're trying to be aligned with that standards because it gives prestige and trust. How it's assessed? Basically, every 5 or 7 years, depending on the jurisdiction, the World Bank, along with International Monetary Fund, conducts the program called Financial Sector Assessment. So after that, they give certain marks on each jurisdiction, and if you have a good mark, well, you're a good jurisdiction to do business. You won't have problems with foreign banks, with transactions, and all that stuff. Second layer of legislation, I'm referring firstly to the European Union here, supranational legislation. As you will know, there are 27 countries that are members of European Union, and they have supranational authorities such as European Parliament and European Council. So, they have two types of legislative acts. First is directives, second is regulations. Directive is like guiding principles which must be implemented into local legislation. If any member state does not implement that, they will be sanctioned by the European Commission. And second type of supranational legislation is basically regulations. It's like a law, but law which adopted not by each member state of European Union, but by the European Parliament, and it's enforced from the first day for every member state. And of course, we have local legislation. Now, why am I telling you that? If you look into the international standards, you'll understand how regulation and all the local law is built. Of course, there are a lot of, like local things which you need to take into account, local policies and so on, but the basic model is the same now in almost every country. So I really think that it's a good idea for anyone who wants a license to start with researching of international legislation. Now, types of licenses. Basically, in every country, there are 5 criteria on every license may be divided. The first and most important type of activity. You may get a license for brokerage services, for investment advice, for dealing, for investment management, or basically any other license, but you always state that into application. Second, type of clients. Here, you should firstly refer onto with whom you work, retail market or the corporate clients. If you work with retail market and non-professional investors, some regulation will be more tough with you. Then, domestic or foreign clients. Here, well, exempli gratia Mauritius. You get either a global business license and work with any foreign country clients, or you get domestic business license and work with locals. So some countries, they still have such rules. Types of instruments. I will refer to European legislation here, so you always choose like with which instruments you want to deal with, and you should communicate that to regulator. Basically, there are securities, shares, bonds, commodities, oil, metals, currencies, forex, and derivatives, futures, forwards, options, and of course CFD, which is, I think, one of the most popular right now. Type of the market you work with. So you could be either licensed as a pure OTF broker. That means that you will be a member of exchange and do all your transactions through the exchange. You can do all the transactions through OTC, or you can do some kind of hybrid model, but you always need to state that to the regulator. And Last but most important, your type of operation. STP, which means trade of the market, or market maker, or the broker with dealing desk. So here are the most crucial difference. So STP, how works STP? Well, it's the easiest, I would say, way to start a brokerage business. You just get an order from your client, transmit it either to your liquidity provider or to electronic communication network or to the exchange, and the order is executed on that side. Here, you don't take any market or liquidity risk. So that's why regulator won't require from you to have a strong risk management procedures and all that stuff. So you are basically an agent. On the other hand, market maker or broker with dealing desk. Here you can choose either execute everything by yourself, maybe part of client's orders, or to give up it to the liquidity provider. Here you need to have a very strong risk management team who will supervise over your liquidity and over your market risk. Because, well, your bankruptcy may start in 10 minutes, basically, especially if some, volatile market happens. So, I strongly urge everyone who doesn't have experience with brokerage business to start with STP brokerage. It will be much easier. Let's speak why do you even need a license. Here I have one very strong argument. If you operate without a license, it may result with a criminal procedure and punitive actions. For example, if you start a brokerage business in the United States and you don't get a license, well, you end up in jail, well, in a day. Also, there are two main sides of getting the license. First, business. License gives you trust. The clients understand that you have capital, that you are part of the system, of the financial market of any country. And operational part, basically, here you will be able to open banking accounts because now every banks do their KYC and they will require you to have a license if you conduct brokerage activity. You will be able to get a white label and a liquidity provider. So without license, it's all impossible and you're risking to end up in jail. I will refer to the most common requirements in each jurisdiction. So you will find that almost anywhere, well, maybe except some offshore tier 4 jurisdictions. First and most important and most painful for business owners, capital. It's may be implemented in two ways. First, share capital. That means that you need just to invest $1 million, for example, into the company and start your business, get your license. But the most regulators now using the concept called regulatory capital. Firstly, it was introduced like 50 years ago within a Basel Committee for banks. And the most common way to count that is your assets minus your liabilities. But not all assets, risk-based assets. For example, if you invest $1 million into junk bonds, you won't be able to use that $1 million because the chance that you will recover that money, they are low, and you should assess that probability. There are some formulas which are implemented by big banks and big financial market players, so everybody may use it, but that's where you need a good accountant. So always consider that when you're getting the license. Second, management. Basically, you need to have a strong management team who will be able to pass fit and proper test. Fit means that your team has a proper experience. They have diplomas, they have at least, 3, 5, it depends on each jurisdiction, years of experience in regulated activities, maybe brokerage, banks, or other financial markets. And they need to prove to regulator that they have sufficient experience and knowledge to operate. Second, proper. Proper means that they have a good reputation. So when you will hire people for your licensing project, always check the background. If you hire some scammers, well, you will get refused from your regulator. Next, shareholder. As a shareholder, you need to prove two things. First, you have sufficient funds. For that, if you have a banking account in a good bank, like top world bank, it may be enough. If not, you need to prove that your source of fund is legal and you are not doing money laundering, all that stuff, so it may be quite tricky. And your proper, so the same as management, fit and proper test, so you need to, if you are internationally recognized terrorist, there is a, well, lesser chance that you'll get the license. Then, infrastructure. Well, brokerage business now is basically a technology business, and you need, of course, a good service provider. So here we can help you. We in B2 Broker provide the best solutions on the market, and you can come to us. We can explain you how everything works, give you a comfort letter, because we are well known to the most regulators now, and showing to the regulator that you have a good partner, it will play for you. Then, substance. It's the most easiest. You just need to buy or rent an office and show that to regulator. Anti-money laundering. Well, it's really crucial now and one of the most important requirements. You need to hire money laundering officer, deputy money laundering officer, somewhere compliance manager. You need to have a proper KYC procedure. You need to have a tech. So all the regulators, they pay a lot of attention onto that part, so be prepared for that. Risk management. Well, if you operate on a STP model, risk management is not something of problem, but if you operate onto market making model, well, then you need to have a proper procedures, proper technology, and proper people to count market credit and liquidity risk. There are three main risks you have. Information security. A couple of years ago in European Union, they implemented GDPR. The same regulation we have now in, at least in half of the world, so you need to be sure that client's data is stored in a safe database, that you have proper procedure in order to delete it and to look for that. Now, corporate governance. Well, that's kind of boring, but you need to have a board. The board needs to have a meetings. That is, a lot of formalities. You need to have a minutes of that meetings. You should have non-executive directors who are like some kind of supervisors. But this is crucial for the regulator, because in this case they will be able, to track like how you making your decision and how you're making your business. So that's important too. Regulatory and financial reporting. Well, that may be a help, because every regulator, they have the same, the different rules. Here you need to hire a very strong accountant. Don't, pay money to that accountant, because if you make a mistake here, you will lose the license. Information disclosure. That's quite easy now. Everybody has websites, so just disclose information about your contracts, all the risk disclosures and all that stuff. And external audit. If you have sufficient amount of funds, you may take like Big Four. It will give you additional trust. If you not willing to spend a lot of money on that, you can hire a good local company. But, for example, in US, with Sarbanes-Oxley Act, they implemented the rule that all public companies, along with financial companies, should choose auditors only from the special list. So you always need to check background of the audit firm and whether they are eligible to conduct such services. Now let's speak about jurisdiction. So basically, how to choose jurisdiction where you want to get a license. First, assess the amount of funds you have available, because if you go into tier 1 jurisdiction, you'll spend, well, tens of millions of dollars. Or on the other hand, if you go to some, lower jurisdiction, you may spend, well, 200, 500, it depends basically. Second, conduct first research by yourself. By yourself, I mean as a senior management or business owner. No agent, no external lawyer will give you better advice than yourself. Always use Google and just read about jurisdiction, some reviews, maybe look into how many licenses they have, how many were revoked, any scandal, are they in the blacklist. Choose several jurisdictions, let's say 3, and find local or international agents which may prepare a memorandum for you. Once you get the memorandum, always be transparent with the agent. Explain them your business model in all details, because otherwise you may get the license and don't have permission to do what you want. And once you get the memorandum, it should be signed with the agents, because in that case they will be liable for what they gave you. If it's not signed, you will never prove that you got some legal advice. And then you just make a choice based on cost, speed, complexity, and all other stuff. Now, here I try to show you the most popular jurisdiction for CFD brokerage. Here we have all tiers of jurisdiction. So if we speak about the offshore jurisdiction, first place, of course, it's Vanuatu and Belize. Also, very popular jurisdiction is Cyprus. It's EU capital of brokerage. Japan. Japan has very strong forex market, maybe one of the biggest now in the world. British Virgin Islands, United Arab Emirates, by the way, it's quickly becoming, a world financial hub. So you may consider this jurisdiction because we already made some research on that. Now, how do you approach the licensing process? There are basically three ways. The first way is to use agent and outsourcing. What I mean here? I mean here that you hire some nominees, you find a local agent, your director will be nominee, your compliance manager will be nominee. It works only in, small jurisdictions, and in this case, you spend less money, but you don't have any control over your business, and you never know what will happen today. On the other hand, you can use your own team. What I mean here? You can hire local director, second director, compliance manager, legal specialist, IML officer, and like 15, 20 staff members. This is a way how big international groups are doing that, such as, I don't know, HSBC or other, international banks. They just hire a lot of personnel on the ground and they're getting licensed. But it's maybe not suitable for most of financial market participants because in this case, you'll have huge costs. So here's your happy medium. Agents and no team. Basically, I will disclose that how BitoBroker does it. You have your own lawyers, your own financial specialists, your own operation managers. You hire an agent, and you're just combining your efforts. You give the understanding of the business, and agents give you expertise in local legislation. This is, I think, as I told, happy medium, and this is a good way. That's how we do that. Now, how to choose an agent? There are a lot of types of agents. Some of them operate on international level, some are just local guys. Some of them do an intermediary scheme. That means that they are searching for the local agents and they just represent you in front of them. There are, of course, tier A, such as, Big Four, tier B, tier C. You can, divide it how you want. But what you always should do, first, check their website. They're, modern good agents, they have a good modern website. You should assess the experience. Like if it's a company which was founded like a year ago, well, maybe they don't have enough experience and you shouldn't work with them. Transparency. This is the most important. When you're meeting with agent, always assess how transparent they are. A good agent will give you full information. They will tell you everything about regulation, about experience of liaison with regulators, about some local policies. They should be completely open with you. Otherwise, you may end up with, quite a bad partner. And always use two things. First, intuition, which is the best in business, and personal recommendation or recommendation from your service provider. So in that case, you'll be able to choose a good agent. And finally, I'll give you, some quite obvious tips, but I strongly urge you to follow them. First, conduct a full-scale research by yourself and by your team. Prepare the first memorandum by yourself. Then choose an agent and ask memorandum from them, and then look at both of them. In this case, you will understand, the jurisdiction much better. Second, be transparent with the regulator, especially with regulator. If you are negotiating with regulators, they will agree on 90% of everything you want to. So, but you should be transparent. You should come to them, tell, guys, okay, here's my business plan. I will do this, that, and this way. Do that. Then, choose the infrastructure and the LP wisely. Well, I think that I don't need to explain this, but if you buy a poor service and your server will go down, you'll get a lot of claims from your client and your business will end up. Be ready to spend sufficient amount. Yes, good license costs good money because you need to hire personnel office, that non-operational period, So if you are doing that, you need to be prepared. Have patience. I will give you one example. In 2021, the IFC reported that they had 1,000 applications. Just imagine, 1,000. It's really difficult to deal with such an amount of applications, so they are not very fast, unfortunately. But that's how regulators are, and you need to understand that. Always, always hire local compliance managers, because only local people know the local law. You should understand that. And, well, my final advice, use your service provider, like us. We are here to grow your business, and we are really interested in your success, and we always will help you with any license or any issue you have. So thank you. Please subscribe to our channels, onto our Telegram, YouTube, and thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, everybody.